Press, look like the Indiana Fever has hired a new player and development coach.
Everyone thinks they know what the Indiana Fever are doing for the upcoming season. But what actually happened with this new hire is way more strategic than you've been told. It starts with a new coach bringing serious NBA firepower, a move that screams they're not messing around after last year's playoff exit.
Look like the Indiana Fever is shaking things up. They has hired a new player and development coach. Now, I know the first thing y'all thinking, what is going on with Keith Porter? Now, if you guys don't know, Keith Porter to his Achilles while at practice, from what I'm hearing. And yeah, man, he's still on the staff. So they're keeping Keith Porter. They're not getting rid of him. And quite frankly, I think this is a smart decision.
The Indiana Fever just dropped their first major move for the upcoming season, and it's already got fans buzzing, trying to decode what this means for Caitlin Clark and the entire roster. They've brought in a player development coach with serious NBA credentials, and the timing suggests they are absolutely not wasting any time addressing the glaring issues that plagued them last year. Keith Porter is staying, despite his gnarly Achilles injury, but now he's got an elite ally joining the ranks. Do you genuinely believe adding more player development coaches will actually fix the Fever's problems? Or is this just a clever bit of window dressing designed to make us feel better? Let's dive into the full breakdown because this is a game changer.
That Rob Dozer is joining our staff as a player and development coach. Rob will work alongside fellow player and development coach Keith Porter. So, as you guys can see here, this is him.
The Indiana Fever officially announced they're bringing Rob Dozer on board as a new player development coach, who will be working closely alongside Keith Porter. This is the very first staff or roster move the Fever have made for the upcoming season, and it's a crystal clear signal that they are dead serious about making significant changes after the way last season ended. Now, making the playoffs for the first time in years was undeniably progress, but getting unceremoniously bounced in the first round brutally exposed the massive chasm that still exists between this team and true championship contention. Rob Dozer isn't just some random hire. He's coming directly from the Mad Ants, which is the G League affiliate of the Indiana Pacers. This means he's already deeply familiar with the Pacers sports and entertainment organization that runs both teams. That inherent familiarity likely smoothed the transition and instilled confidence within the Fever organization that he understands precisely how their entire operation functions. Moving from the Mad Ants to the Fever is genuinely interesting, because on paper it's technically a lateral move in terms of professional league level. However, the chance to work directly with Caitlin Clark and be an integral part of the WNBA's most captivating narrative right now is probably a far more appealing prospect than continuing to develop G League players who might never even sniff the NBA. And let's be clear, he was already a player development coach there. Dozer's background is actually pretty darn impressive when you start digging into the details. Before he joined the Mad Ants for the 2023-2024 season, he spent 2 solid years embedded within the Washington Wizards organization. He held the title of Player Development Manager for the Wizards during the 2021-2022 season. Prior to that, he served as an assistant coach for the Capital City Go-Go, which, you guessed it, is the Wizards' G League team. So he's got bona fide NBA experience across multiple levels, which unequivocally means he understands what elite player development truly looks like, and more importantly, how to effectively guide athletes in maximizing their raw potential. The fact that he's been steadily climbing the NBA coaching ranks at such a rapid pace strongly suggests he's exceptionally good at what he does. You simply don't move from being a college graduate assistant to a G League coach, then to NBA organization staff, and then into another G League head coaching role, unless people within the industry are actively recognizing your undeniable talent and proven effectiveness. The Fever didn't just pluck some random assistant coach off the street. They secured someone who has been meticulously building a reputation for outstanding player development work within professional basketball. That distinction matters immensely because Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Fever roster desperately need coaching that deeply understands the professional game at its absolute highest level. Keith Porter's continued presence on the staff, even after tearing his Achilles, is also incredibly significant. There was a considerable amount of speculation that the Fever might make sweeping changes to the coaching staff following the disappointing end to the season, but keeping Porter demonstrates that they deeply value what he contributed. He was absolutely instrumental in helping players develop throughout the season, and by all accounts he did excellent work with the existing roster. The Achilles injury occurred during practice, which was tragically unfortunate timing, but the Fever clearly believe he's too valuable to let go, even while he focuses on his recovery. Bringing in Dozer provides Porter with a dedicated partner to share the substantial workload and crucially ensures that the player development side of the operation doesn't suffer at all while Porter is diligently rehabbing. The timing of this hire is particularly interesting because it's happening in November, which is remarkably early in the WNBA offseason. Most teams typically wait until after the new year, once they've had ample time to thoroughly evaluate everything from the previous season, before making significant staff changes. The Fever's swift action on this indicates they identified player development as a top priority area that desperately needed reinforcement immediately. They are not waiting around or dragging their feet. They saw a clear need, identified a candidate with the perfect background, and acted decisively. That's precisely the kind of proactive, decisive action that fans crave from a front office that's genuinely trying to build a championship contender. What this move specifically means for Caitlin Clark is definitely worth a closer examination. She had an absolutely incredible rookie season by almost any standard, but there were undeniably areas where she struggled, particularly late in games when fatigue inevitably set in, and her efficiency noticeably dipped. Having an additional dedicated player development coach focused on helping her refine her game, effectively manage her minutes and energy throughout the grueling season, and develop counters for the aggressive defensive schemes being thrown at her could make a monumental difference. Dozer's NBA experience means he's witnessed firsthand how the absolute best players in the world hone their craft, and he can now bring those invaluable insights to help Caitlin take that crucial next step in her development. But this isn't solely about Caitlin. The entire Fever roster is in desperate need of development work. Aaliyah Boston had a strong season, but she absolutely needs to continue improving her offensive game and become far more assertive on that end of the floor. Kelsey Mitchell is a veteran scorer, but she could still benefit from refining certain specific aspects of her game. Nalissa Smith showed flashes of brilliance but was ultimately inconsistent. Lexi Hull needs to significantly expand her offensive repertoire beyond just relying on three-point shooting. Every single player on the roster has areas where they can and should improve, and having two dedicated player development coaches means there's significantly more capacity to work individually with each person on the team. The fact that Dozer specializes purely in player development rather than being a general assistant coach is incredibly important. This is someone whose entire professional focus is dedicated to helping players get better through rigorous skill work, in-depth film study, and personalized individual attention. He's not bogged down managing game strategy or fiddling with rotations. He is in the gym, working diligently on specific skills with specific players to help them improve in highly targeted areas. That kind of specialization is invaluable, because it means players are receiving expert-level instruction on the technical aspects of their games, rather than just receiving generic coaching. His Washington Wizards background is also highly relevant, because despite their struggles as a team, the Wizards have historically had success in developing individual players. They've managed to take draft picks and transform them into productive NBA players through their well-established development program. That's precisely the kind of track record you want from someone stepping into this crucial role. It's not solely about winning championships as an organization in the immediate sense. It's about taking players with immense potential and helping them to maximize that potential through smart, incredibly focused development work. The G League experience is also profoundly valuable because the G League essentially functions as a laboratory for player development. The entire singular point of that league is to develop players who can eventually contribute at the NBA level. Coaches in the G League are constantly experimenting with skill development, implementing innovative new training techniques, and figuring out precisely what works best to help players improve. That mindset and that wealth of experience translate directly to what the Fever desperately need as they strive to develop their roster into a legitimate championship-caliber team. The fact that this specific hire is already generating attention and sparking discussion undeniably shows just how invested Fever fans are in the team's ultimate success. People are paying close attention to coaching staff additions now, because they understand that superior coaching and a robust development infrastructure are absolutely essential for winning. You can possess all the raw talent in the world, but if you lack coaches who can effectively help that talent mature and reach its full potential, you're simply not going anywhere meaningful. The Fever have clearly recognized this fundamental truth and are investing accordingly in building out their staff. The social media response to this announcement has been overwhelmingly positive, with fans widely expressing optimism that the Fever are being proactive in addressing past weaknesses. There's a clear recognition that last season, while successful in some ways, also exposed significant limitations in how the team was constructed and coached. Making these kinds of changes to address those limitations demonstrates that the front office is paying close attention and is willing to evolve, rather than simply running back the same old approach and blindly hoping for different, better results. What's also incredibly interesting is that this is almost certainly just the first move. The offseason is a long, drawn-out process, and the Fever will undoubtedly make additional changes to both the roster and potentially even further to the coaching staff. Free agency, strategic trades, and the upcoming draft all present significant opportunities to upgrade the team. But starting with these kinds of infrastructure improvements, like adding another highly qualified player development coach, showcases smart prioritization. Get the fundamental foundation right first, and then add talent on top of that solid foundation. That's the proven formula for building sustained success, rather than merely hoping that everything will magically click into place. The direct connection to the Pacers organization through the Mad Ants is also worth noting, because it creates potential for invaluable knowledge sharing and cross-collaboration. The Pacers have a proven track record of successfully developing players, and having someone on the Fever staff who intimately understands how the Pacers system operates could greatly facilitate the exchange of cutting-edge ideas and best practices. The two organizations operate under the same ownership umbrella, so it makes perfect sense to leverage that relationship to help both teams improve. For Caitlin Clark specifically, having coaches who have previously worked within the NBA means they can help her truly understand what the next higher level of her game looks like. They've seen the absolute best point guards in the world up close and personal. They know precisely what separates good players from truly great players, and what separates great players from bona fide superstars. That unique perspective is incredibly valuable for someone like Caitlin, who is already excellent, but still has substantial room to continue improving. Having coaches who can actually show her film of how NBA point guards expertly handle specific situations or skillfully solve complex problems gives her a tangible roadmap for her own personal development. The Fever's explicit willingness to invest significantly in coaching infrastructure also sends a powerful message to Caitlin and the rest of the roster that the organization is genuinely serious about winning. Players absolutely notice when teams are cutting corners or failing to provide necessary resources. They also keenly notice when teams are demonstrably doing everything humanly possible to create an optimal environment for success. Adding another player development coach with impressive NBA credentials clearly shows the Fever aren't satisfied with merely making the playoffs. They are aiming to compete for championships, and they are diligently building the essential infrastructure to make that ambitious goal a reality. The timing relative to Caitlin's offseason activities is also quite interesting. She is presumably working on her game right now, actively rehabbing from the physical wear and tear of her demanding rookie season, and diligently preparing for the upcoming campaign. Having new coaching staff in place early in the offseason means they can potentially begin working with her sooner, rather than having to wait until the official training camp begins. That extra time to build crucial relationships and implement individualized development plans could pay significant dividends when the season ultimately starts. This hire also clearly reflects broader emerging trends within professional basketball, where player development has become increasingly specialized and incredibly sophisticated. Teams are now investing substantially more resources into specialized skill development, advanced sports science, and highly individualized training programs, because they fundamentally recognize that incremental improvements in individual players translate directly into significant team success over the course of a long season. The Fever are shrewdly following that trend by building out their development staff with highly qualified professionals who can help extract maximum value from their existing roster. The Indiana Fever have just made their first significant move of the offseason by officially adding Rob Dozer to the player development staff, and it unequivocally signals their serious intent to build championship-caliber infrastructure around Caitlin Clark and the rest of the talented roster. This is precisely how championship teams get built, by investing heavily in coaching and development before the season even officially begins. Hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going to be tracking every single move the Fever make as they valiantly try to turn their immense potential into tangible championships.